My father was Frank Simeon Townsend, and he came from Seattle. My mother was Ruth Fulton Floyd, who came from the Dallas, Washington. They met at the University of Washington in Seattle uh, and married in 1922. Uh, they lived in the Tacoma, and my first years were in the Tacoma Golf and Country Club near Tacoma, Washington, which is on American Lake. A house that in most of the homes, the lawn sloped from the, the sidewalk down to the lake. On the other side was the golf course. And it was a, a very tranquil, a very welcoming atmosphere there. People there, we had the the lawn went down to the house when the level, and then it went down to the lake where there was a boathouse. So we had to learn to swim quite at an early age. So if we skidded and fell off the wharf, we'd be able to retrieve ourselves.
Um, when did your parents move to Carmel?
My father was a very successful investment banker in Tacoma with his own company, and they moved to Hillsboro first of all, where we lived in a spacious home with servants of many kinds, and we used to vacation. My mother, especially when he was away, for instance, in the East Coast or something, why we would come to Carmel to vacation. The first recession, he weathered that very well and was very proud of himself. But the second one came along and absolutely wiped him out. He went from being an investment banker to cutting shakes in Big Sur. And while he was trying to extract himself in San Francisco, my mother and sister and I moved really to Carmel by the Sea. First came with 3 horses, well, 2 horses and a pony, my pony, which the first 2 went very rapidly. The 7-passenger Packard, mother had to drive it, and she established the Girl Scouts in Carmel by the Sea, and she could get the whole troop in the Packard, but she often was in the ditch. She didn't drive it very well. So.
Um, what about other family members? Will you tell me about your sister?
My sister Donna, or everybody called Honey, and my nickname was Bunny, is 3.5 years younger than I am. Um, I think there was probably a stillborn or something in between. Mother wanted us to be exactly alike, and we were as different as 2 people could be. She was a long, lanky blonde, and interested in the things my mother was interested in, garden and social things and clothes and so on. And my father, at an early age, taught me to play tennis, and I was sort of in a way, the son he did not have. So horses and other things were our interest. Uh, my mother's forebears came across the country in a covered wagon. Uh, this ring I wear, the diamond in it, was in one of the ancestors' earrings, part of that. I think that the family brand, the Fulton Floyd brand, is still extant there. And her father, I think, was a member of the Vaqueros that we spoke of, who looked rather down on people who rounded up cattle. They rounded up wild horses, which I believe they sold to the military. Mother grew up on a farm um, and has had all kinds of funny stories, though, about the local Indians. And she thought she spoke some Siwash. And when she saw a group of lady squaws, she said, "Hi, you skookum." And of course, that means, "How do you do, sir?" And so all the women enjoyed laughing. She also had relatives who were instrumental in starting Reed College up there. She lived with them for quite a while, learned how to iron a handkerchief on both sides, so when you took it out, it opened up. She became very social, joined a sorority, for instance, when she went to the University of Washington. And my father, too, although he was a rather small man, he was captain of the football team and rode and did all those things. And his family on the Townsend side came from the East Coast and were about as British as you could get. In fact, I think his father brewed his own beer in the basement during Prohibition and was married to a very petite French-Canadian lady, Evie Lavoie, L-A-V-O-I, who never really learned to speak very good English and used to send us things for Christmas like gilded walnuts with a little tiny present inside. She was raised by nuns, I believe. My father had two sisters. My father was a charmer, but also a philanderer, and not always home. And later on, my father and mother separated. And mother really kept us going and made a living by renting the big house. It had 12 rooms, 5 fireplaces, 6 baths, and no central heating. And but the floor furnaces, where if you stood on the grating, you know, you burned the bottom of your soles of your shoes. But we had the fireplaces and so on. And it was hospitable. It was full of people all the time. One of Mother's friends came when we were away. We came home, we found a note. Don't shoot. I'm in the upstairs bedroom. When no one was home, she simply took a rock and smashed out a window pane and then one of the doors. And it got the glazier in the next day to fix it. But rather than go to a motel or something, she was where she was accustomed to being. But this was sort of typical of our town. You didn't lock your doors. And you knew people and they knew you. My father, he built from a kit, a kayak, a sailing kayak with a pontoon. And I used to launch it on Carmel Beach. And Mother, when there was a lot of swell, she was up there. She couldn't see me anymore. She was sure that I had gone into the drink and that was the end. But we carried that boat on our Woody station wagon when we still had homes up in the Tacoma Golf and Country Club, which she rented. And we had that kayak on the Woody station wagon. And since my father was back in the military then, we used to spend the night at Presidio in San Francisco. And once she backed the station wagon through the upper story of the MP station, which was glass. And of course they all came boiling out, and from then on it was a pet phrase. You back your car until you hear the breaking of glass. But I think that also both my mother and father, especially my mother, convinced us that we were somebody special. We're not just ordinary, but also that special people had an obligation to their friends and neighbors and to take part in things, to be part. She was not really a reader and so on. My sister also, who pestered the life out of me, followed me everywhere, and all I wanted to do was to please read my books, and I'd climb up a tree. Or when we were first in the house at San Antonio and Santa Lucia, there was only one building on the corner of Casanova and San Carlos, all the way down to Mission Ranch, and that whole area was a wheat field. And the one house that was there belonged to Bixler, who was our postmaster at that time, and his daughter Laura was my friend. But when I wanted to escape from my sister and for things in general, I would go sit in the wheat field and with my booker just quietly, and all the animals would come finally and peer at you and wonder. That would, I think, at that time, what is now the Mission Ranch was a dairy, and later Muriel Vanderbilt Phelps bought it and used it as her stable and so on. But anyway, I had the beach just a block away, and this wonderful wheat field just almost next door, so it was easy to escape.